Alright, welcome back to the channel, or welcome if you're new. I made some adjustments to the TNT deck, and I had to capture them in a notepad from the last video just to make sure that I got them all correct here. So one of the changes is that I've actually cut a land, which is definitely risky and means, you mulligan slightly higher. However, I used that cut to add artifact mana into the deck, cheap artifact mana, which means that you'll have more explosive hands when you have a keepable hand, generally speaking. And on average, that's probably more important. So in order to make the cuts that I made, the two lands that I pulled were Urborg and Yavimaya. So Urborg turning all lands into swamps, Yavimaya turning them all into forests, means that Basic Island is a dual land, or Mystic Sanctuary is a tri-land, or Mystic Sanctuary is a tri-land if those two cards in play. More importantly, they were in there to make sure that Mishra's Workshop was never dead, or that if I had a fetch land, and I had fetched all of the targets that the fetch land could get out of the deck, I'd be able to still tap that fetch land for black mana or green mana, or both, depending on what I had in play. Most games aren't going that long though, and although it is really nice to have with Workshop, and between the two, I would prefer to have Urborg in order to support Necropotence. Because I wanted to make the cut and make adjustments and fit everything in, that was basically the one that I deemed was the most necessary. Those two were the weakest lands. They were, when they weren't doing something special, what they were is a swamp and a forest in my mostly blue deck. And that's not really, those aren't really cards that you, in generally speaking, are going to want to play in your mostly blue deck. But having said all that, I did replace the Urborg with Phyrexian Tower. Phyrexian Tower is another land that you can get that makes it easier to get Necropotence into play. Of course, it does require, if you're not familiar with it, I'll bring it up. It does require that you sacrifice a creature to get 2 black, or it taps for colorless. But the fact that this card is also provides the ability to generate 2 mana off a single land is really a selling point of it, because especially with Mana Crypt gone, you just need more ways to get Tavish into play before it should be. And then of course once he's in play, this provides infinite fuel. This basically is a double black land with almost no drawback whatsoever, because you'll have tokens to eat. The main thing is just getting him into play as quickly as you can, and this gives you an opportunity to do that. There are plenty of leftover creatures that we get, like Spellseeker and Thieving Skydiver and Snapcaster and stuff that we can eat. But even if you were to do something like play in early Bird of Paradise, and then tap that bird for mana, and then sacrifice that bird for 2 more mana, sort of DIY Black Lotus effect, basically, it's worth it, or at least Dark Ritual. It's worth it if it gets your commander into play, and there are times that that's going to be game-winning because you had a Phyrexian Tower, and for almost no other reason. However, in addition to that, I've also gone ahead and added Springleaf Drum, which is another explosive supporting card for fast starts. To give you an example, I just had a game where I played first turn Ancient Tomb, tapped it for 2 colorless. I played Haywire Might and Springleaf Drum, and then passed the turn. I didn't have anything else. I wish I had like a bird to go with it or something. But that meant that I put 2/3 mana into play and a Haywire Might. And if my opponent had played like a Soul Ring or a Must Kill card, I could have used the drum, tapped the Might, and exiled their target. Like maybe, Soul Ring's the best example. But at any rate, my opponent did not, so I was able to play a land and then tap for 2, plus my land made 3. Drum makes 4, and then I played a turn 2 Thran Dynamo. Had that been a Phyrexian Tower, I could have played a turn 2 Tevish Zot off just Ancient Tomb, Tower, Drum, Might, for example. Now, is that why we're playing it, so that we can get that specific combo of cards? No, but the fact that it enables things like that is great. And of course with Drum, even if you're not tapping Haywire Mites or whatever, having a turn 2 Thrasios, it's possible to go first turn Drum, second turn land, Thrasios, cast like Mox Amber, and have Drum plus Mox up, and you are sitting on mana drain even though you just spent 2 mana on turn 2. I think Basically, I would say in Commander, if you can play Drum reasonably, you basically want to put this in every deck. It's the kind of card, it's along with Mox Amber and Drum are both in the same category where every deck that you can build that can support these cards is a better deck than if your deck could not support those cards. Similar to Mox Opal. And of course, by adding extra artifacts, the Drum, the Talisman, and the Talisman, which I'll get to in a second, I'm also supporting Mox Opal a little bit better, which is similarly important. So, to make the room for the Drum, though, I ended up cutting Spell Pierce. We'll see how much I regret it. It does make me weaker to, honestly, my own deck, because I can't Spell Pierce an opposing Tevish. And of course, it's really nice when you have just exactly 1 mana and your opponent's tapped out. You cast your big spell, they force, and you pierce. Not being able to do that may prove to be detrimental enough that Pierce makes its way back into the deck. However, I don't believe it will be at the cost of Drum. It'll have to be in addition to it, because I think Drum is too good not to use when you have a 2 mana commander or a 1 or a 0, right? Probably for a 3 mana commander even. Okay, so next I cut Liquimetal Torque. The card's great, and it does offer some interesting tricks, like you can tear asunder, turn something into an artifact. You can steal something with a Thieving Skydiver that you shouldn't be able to steal, like a Planeswalker. And you know, there's cool tricks like that where you can get a Karn out and get a Torque, and then you can like torque their Planeswalker during upkeep to make it an artifact. And then because Karn's in play, they can't activate their Planeswalkers. You can essentially turn them, turn one off with that combination of cards. That's pretty strong. But all said, one of the weaknesses and one of the reasons I added Drum and both Talismans to the deck, one of the weaknesses I found with this deck was that I had made the deck too weak to Blood Moon effects. And I'm still weak to Blood Moon effects, but with more artifacts that produce mana of colored production as opposed to colorless, I'm a lot stronger. And between Talisman, Drum, that's 3 more sources of blue mana that I'll have in the deck, and 2 more sources of green and black between the 3 cards. Next, I cut Liliana. Liliana's a fine card. It's all right. But I replaced it with Uro. It gives me another blue card to force with, so there's always that. But also, Uro is just kind of... Liliana was meant to be a disrupting scepter that protects you a little bit against creatures. This giant 6/6 is the reverse of that. It's a Jamday Tome that protects you against creatures. Liliana, I guess you could compare it to sort of a 1 part Disrupting Scepter, 1 part the Abyss. And Uro, you can compare it to 1 part Moat and 1 part Jamday Tome. And when it comes right down to it, Jamday Tome wins. It's also a source of life to go along with the Umezawa's Jitte. So as an additional source of life gain in the deck, and Oko. So we've got Oko, Uro, Jitte. And then of course like some incidentals like Haywire Might. But with those 3 right there, those 3 reusable sources of life gain, it's very, very hard to get Necro locked, or it's a lot harder to lose to aggro. But aggro was a bit of a problem. It was another something of a weakness of the deck. I'd gone so far in the direction of trying to defend myself against combo that I was losing to decks that I should never lose to, like just green red stompy stuff, just junk that in a 40 life format in a 20 life format is not junk at all, but in a 40 life format should be junk against a control deck. And yet I was still having trouble because I was drawing oodles of cards that affected their hand or the stack, and all of my problems were in play. I had 99 problems, and a counterspell wasn't one of them, but I was dying on board. So with that Uro added to the deck now, I have another way to keep that from happening. And then to get that kind of Abyss-like behavior back, I also went ahead and to assist with the aggro games, I also went ahead and swapped out Shaku. Honorworn Shaku is the one that taps for a colorless, but you can untap it by tapping a legendary permanent, so you could use it with Thrasios, you could use it with Jitte and stuff, and of course with Planeswalkers. The reason I cut it, and I replaced it with Vedalken Shackles, so the reason I felt it was okay to cut was because by adding Springleaf Drum, I have a better way to tap their Asios. And once you get going, yes, if you've got Planeswalkers, Shaku, of course, generates tons of mana. But if you have Planeswalkers, you're probably winning the game anyway. They're probably finding you lots of mana. I mean, it's great when it goes off and everything, and I love it with like Tavish and such. And I'd probably if it comes down to it, and I think Uro's just not performing, maybe I'll swap that into the Shackles. Excuse me, into the Honor Ward Shaku. Or if Shackles proves to be bad, but for now, I don't think so. And the reason, like, again, is one, I think that I've already got some pressure to use my creatures with the Springleaf Drum, so adding the Honor Ward Shaku is not a significant upgrade. Two, the other thing, though, is that I did want to get Shackles in here for a couple reasons. The number one is the aggro thing that I talked about should help with that. And then the number two is I added Phyrexian Tower. And Phyrexian Tower plus Vedalken Shackles is a fairly heinous combo. It's build your own abyss for most little creatures. So now what I've done is I've basically added a moat, and I've added an abyss to the deck. Of course, Shackles Tavish is also will get you there. But, you know, maybe you have like 3 mana, and so you steal something cheap, and then the next turn you eat it, and that ramps out the Tavish, and then you take it from there, right? These kinds of like little synergies and things are not critical deck building choices, but they're always deck building options and things that you should be keeping in mind as you're putting your deck together, looking for how to harmonize things. Now, speaking of that, here's a Nambo, not the combo. So keep this in mind. If you do have a Necro and you over Necro and you discard your Uro, it's going to get exiled. So keep that in mind, because that's what Necro does. And then, of course, you're not going to be able to escape the card back into play, unfortunately. So don't fall into that trap. But outside of that, Uro and Necro are also just a nutty interaction between the two, because it lets you ramp all the extra lands you're getting from Necro into play, while providing you the life and cards to keep the cards flowing, rather. So kind of insane, but honestly, if you get either one, if you get either Necro or Uro, the thing about it is this card is plenty of times it's just like a funky rampant growth, and that's it. But especially once you escape this card into play, it immediately becomes a win condition. So in and of itself, this card can completely win a game by just providing you with endless fuel and resources and life and pressure. It's also a great way to kill planeswalkers, many planeswalkers. I mean, you're not going to kill a Jace with it too often, but most planeswalkers are going to struggle against this. Maybe I guess variations of Teferi won't, but you know, if you need to take out a Narset, if you Uro, you're not going to get the card draw off of it, but you'll still get a 6/6 and maybe ramp a land, and then you can start swinging and killing the Narset and get it off the board, and then after that it provides the fuel you need. So those are all the changes. So now we should go through some games. Now I would love to do a replay, but I think they're still broken. So I had a loss here, and then there was a loss here, and then a couple losses here and there. Like it's been, lost there. There are some hit or miss losses, but then more recently, just the one here against the Meek, and an insane game in the second game against the Meek. And in both cases, I just can't replay. Yeah, it's just broken. Doesn't let me do it at all. So we're gonna have to fire one up and hope that we get some games. So I've added bracket 5 because some people are using a bracketing system. This means highest tier. It's essentially S tier or SSS tier, whatever. That's not me trying to make a claim about how good the deck is for any reason other than to try to give people the opportunity. If the word CEH doesn't help them, maybe bracket 5 will help. And you see here it's bracket 2, bracket 3, right? So I can... here somebody uses the words. Here I just use literally brackets. So hopefully it'll keep people from hopping into the game when they don't actually want to play CEDH. Now if I do see a game fire up and they don't have anything underneath saying that they're a lower tier or they don't want to play like counters or something like that, then I'll hop on it because we do have some content to make here, and I'd like to be able to provide that content. It is definitely later in the evening. In fact, it's early morning now, and what I have found is that for whatever reason, the players, whatever time zone we're in now, typically involves people wanting to play multiplayer. But like earlier in the day, people will play 1v1 all day long, and then you get to a certain time in the evening, and it's like those players are the multiplayer only group. So we might be waiting for a little while. It might be a little bit unlucky if we don't get anywhere. Sorry, if you don't see a game fire up, it's kind of like not unexpected. This is just multiplayer hour here. But this is when I had the opportunity to make a video and thought I would at least give it a shot. So I have picked up a new webcam and a new computer, as a matter of fact. Hopefully the last one I'll be getting for a long time. But this should have resulted in better picture quality and recording as you're watching. So you can let me know if you notice that. Now I've also reached out to Brian to see if he has time to game tonight, and if he doesn't, we might be graced with his presence as well, but there's no guarantee on that one. In the meantime, you can do, unfortunately, because I can't do replays, which would be normally how I would fuel my videos, right? We can do like test draws. Here's a possible keep going second. You might keep this, yeah, and then you probably win. Probably, right? Here's definitely a mulligan, but once again, also very, very close. I just like to kind of like spin through and see what my hands would look like. This is a great hand, obviously. Turn 2 frog is always really good, but turn 2 frog, and then if they don't have anything to stop it, you get to strip mine them and then like tear asunder if they played artifact mana. That'd be a phenomenal hand there, provided you weren't disrupted too much. All right, here we go. Pinky Mist and Kalia the Vast, always a challenge, and I've got a very nice hand. Very nice hand. We will lead off with Tamiyo. Funny thing is, if you clamp a Tamiyo and they kill it, you don't get. You get to draw 2 cards, but can't flip the dead, I guess. All right, so we'll use. The plan is to retain the copy artifact as the Force of Will fuel, and we're going to try to ancient tomb the token here. But I may that Tamiyo creates, but I may actually play my commander. Okay, yeah, that changes things a bit. Okay, so we'll get our token, and so I was thinking I would play the commander, and then next turn play Ancient Tomb, and then sack both clues and flip Tamiyo after combat. But with the top deck of the monolith there, we're just going to slam that into play. And we're going to get a Skull Clamp down and pass for the turn. I'd love to clamp, of course, but next turn we've got bigger things to do. We might be able to do something along the lines of, yep, that is okay. I'm going to save my force. We might do something along the lines of, let's just hope that they don't have Cavern of Souls, because Kalia basically is one of those cards that's, for the most part, only super broken when they have Cavern of Souls. So, all right. We want to attack first because we don't want to flip Tamiyo. If I was to play the commander and the other commander, which I think I have the mana to do? No, I guess I don't. Well, I could flip Tamiyo with a Ponder here, but the most important thing right now is to get the commander into play. So let's do that first, and then let's flip it with a Skull Clamp. Equip. I assume my opponent's going to scoop here. All right, so we got our clue. We're going to flip Tamiyo. Set that to always yield. Okay. Tamiyo flips. Plus. clamp, go to 5. I could have pondered there, but drawing 2 cards is better than drawing 1 of 3. When I've already got a force of will. If I didn't have a force, I would have pondered to try to find one more than likely and left my dork in play. Okay. It should be the end of the game for the Kalia player here. We force this, and it's fine to get rid of the ponder because we're just gonna eat. We're gonna Tevish is gonna nosh and refill our hand. So again, we don't need to choice. Yeah. So what happens here is we force, right? And next turn we draw, and then we Tameo the force back into our hand, and then draw a bunch of cards off. I mean, we don't Tameo it right away. So here's you can see where Uro is really good. So we draw Confidant, clamp. We make 2 guys. Tapping Tomb, clamp. Okay, so we drew the talisman. So we play Workshop, cast the talisman. We have 2 mana floating now. Clamp again, and then with no mana floating at all, we would more than likely pass for the turn because unfortunately we had our land drop. Oh no, we would spend 3 mana and cast Uro, draw another card, and then sneak a land into play. Now, one of the cool things you can do with Phyrexian Tower, if you want, is when you play Uro, you always left click on the sacrifice to put it on the bottom of the stack, and then the card draw and the land on top. So what you can do is you can play Uro and then sneak a tower into play and then sack the Uro before it sacrifices itself. You can sack it to the tower and you can generate 2 mana. So that's what we would have done, is we would have snuck the tower in and then sacked the Uro and played the Dark Confidant. If you didn't follow all that, just you could, I suppose, rewind it, but it's just a matter of I've played the deck enough so I can hold. I can sort of hold. You just kind of pay attention to what all is going on with your mana here. This is probably a keep. So we would draw and then preordain, and yuck, putting these 2 on the bottom, this into our hand, and then we would draw for the turn, and we'd probably be in deep doo-doo at that point. We could Mystical Tutor and try to brainstorm our way out, but we'd probably be okay. It just would depend severely on what the opponent was doing. So here we get a draw, and we get a draw. 3 tries to find mana, don't find it if we keep that hand. Probably a mulligan. This is great, potentially, but a little risky without an extra land, right? Another frog hand. Frog likes to show up, huh? Look at this hand. Great. Wow, if I'm going first, I actually am better off going second with that hand because of the Mox Diamond. What an amazing thing. Yeah, this is a great hand. This hand's great. Very, very keepable. Utterly absurd. This hand's totally nuts, right? So we would go something like Marsh Flats, probably Underground because I wouldn't know what color. I probably have to get green with the flats, but I don't want to get green with the flats. So I don't want to. I have sources of blue. This is a source of green. So I'd want to like save this and not expose whatever land I was going to get. So I'd lead off with Underground River, Chrome Mox, imprint the Trinket Mage, tap 1 mana for the Soul Ring, tap 2 mana for the Talisman, tap, 1 mana for the Soul Ring, 2 mana for the Talisman, 2 mana for the Thrasios. Would probably be it. And then land, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You can play the drum for free there, and then draw, play the Tevish, and obviously off to the races. All right, totally ridiculous hand. Very keepable. First turn Tameo, second turn Strip Mine him. Hopefully we draw something to accelerate us. But even if not, that's a solid hand. All right, that's a keepable hand. So yeah, that's kind of what I do with my time. Unfortunately, I know it's not the most interesting thing, but this is where we're at when it comes to the comes to this time of night. I wish I could replay these games for you. Boy, it'd be nice if they would fix that. If anyone can encourage them to make a difference and get some stuff fixed, that'd be real nice. Take a look at some more practice hands. If this doesn't go any further, I might call it here and just try again another day. Very good hand. First turn Haywire Might, second turn draw, play land. With a hand like this, I probably play my commander on turn 2, which is weird, but I want to have Fierce up, I'd have Flare up, both, and then draw a card, and then, oh look at that, Phyrexian Tower, so good, man. So, I just play the tower, cast the Signet, sit on the mana drain, win game pretty easily from there. Otherwise I could eat the Haywire Might and play the Signet if I needed to. Or even activate the commander, but yeah, no, this would be an easy win if it wasn't heavily disrupted. This hand could work. First turn Halfling off of a Bayou, and then second turn Demonic Tutor, grab Ancient Tomb, play the Tomb, cast the Signet, and then draw a card, and then from there you got land, Bayou, Signet, Tomb, Halfling, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So yeah, very, very strong hand. Could Skydiver at that point, opposition agent with mana drain up, or just slam Tevish. Garbage hand. There's a keep, risky keep though. So let's see, scry 2, put him on the bottom, sadly getting rid of a Sylvan and draw a card. And then draw for the turn. So 4 cards down, no land, lose game. Ugly. Hands like that are very frustrating. Like why? Anyway, maybe Mana Vault keep? Risky keep though. So gets a little better here if you run out the Mana Vault and the Haywire Might and then get a land. Turn 2 it looks like you can't actually, so first turn Mana Vault, second turn Haywire Might, third turn you play a land, and then, yeah, play Tevish. Probably be okay. It's a risky keep, but, you know, yeah, first turn Mana Vault here is almost always going to be a winner. Turn 2, land, you can take it from there very easily. Mana Vault hand, mulligan though, good keep, not great, but lead with the basic land, since it's immune to Wasteland, only vulnerable to strip. Draw another card, play your Will Rush Verge, play your Arcane Signet, and set yourself up with a Vampiric Tutor, and then draw a card, and then Wasteland the opponent. Yeah, be in good shape there. That would be one way to go, and then slam a Soul Ring down and copy it, but anyway, solid hand. Mostly solid hand. Could be really, really strong. Probably lead with the Confluence in case of drawing the lands for the Dracios to feed into the tower. Turn 2, play Ancient Tomb Spellseeker, go get Brainstorm more than likely. Turn 3, Jace, yeah, good. And it's probably keepable. So, draw, play land, Brainstorm, looks kind of ugly there. Oof, don't know how that one will play out. This one's definitely keepable and a fine hand. This is a fine hand. Like, some of these are so strong that you just don't need to do much. Here you lead with Overgrown Tomb and you vamp for a land, and then turn 2 you play Frog and see if that's good enough. Obviously, turn 2 Confidant. Ooh, that one's a painful one to have to mulligan, but, you know, can't keep it. Too risky, two turns away. great hand, obviously. Turn 1 halfling off Confluence. Do it off the Confluence so that you can save the Windswept Heath shuffle if you want to later. More than likely. Ridiculous hand. Awesome. This could work. Again, Vamp for land, and then turn 2 Psychic Frog, and then hope it's gonna get you there. Turn 3 you draw 2 cards, and none of them would be particularly good. But depends on if you have a copy artifact target on the opponent's side of the board. Seems like it could be strong. First turn Mana Vault. Yeah, second turn. Not too much going on because the tower isn't Urborg in this case. You'd hope to wasteland them. So you'd go Tower Vault and then turn 2 wasteland them, something like that, just to buy time and look for your mana. And then you've got remand up, and then you can remand into a card and draw another card, and then I think you're fine. Strong start. Don't City of Traders Talisman here, I don't think. I don't think that's the way to go. I think you go first turn Delta, and then you fetch. And then turn 2, you might play something like City of Traders, Talisman, Commander, Amber, but you could also go second turn, second turn City of Traders, pass, and then you're ready to go with Opposition Agent. It just depends on what you think is going to be most, like, the best way to sequence it, but either way, oh well. Yeah, great start here. The halfling, very quickly getting on board, and another solid start. Not as great. If you only had a green card to throw into the Chrome Mox here, but if we were to keep this, we could go. Yeah, I mean we'd keep the halfling. We'd play this, imprint and muddle. Tap 3 and play Shackles as turn 1. We'd keep Skydiver in case they had a Soul Ring. So we'd keep the halfling in case we could draw green. Turn 2 we draw a remand, so we pass. We remand, draw a card for the turn. There's our land. So we go 2, 3, and then the land makes 4. It does destroy our Chrome Mox. Sorry, our City of Traders, but we can play Thran Dynamo to replace it, and then after that we can get the halfling down and do our business with the Manlake protecting it. It's a little awkward, it's a little clunky, but it's still pretty good. So do we have any opponents? I don't think Crazy Ivan is an opponent I can play. Is it? Oh, it is. Okay. I'm not banned from Crazy Ivan's games. That's cool. So let's see if we can get an actual game going. Oops, not OBS. There we are. Oh man, this is one of those ones where it's like, do you keep it? I mean, it's so good. I don't think so, because it's just too risky. So we want to throw away Underground River, fetch this to feed that. Fetch swamp or forest to feed the, it's got to be a swamp to feed the Verge. Bummer. So we would have gone turn 1, nothing. Turn 2, probably play the commander. Turn 3, play Ancient Tomb. Don't play the sword. Activate to draw a card and get a land into play for free. And then, Workshop, Ancient Tomb, Lotus, tap Lotus, cast sword, equip sword, attack, like clone the Lotus, play the Necro, win the game. Unfortunately, playing against, okay, here we go. Opponents here sometimes feels very similar to just drawing practice hands. Just all depends on who you're facing. to take a mulligan. Muldrotha, same color combination. Definitely a major threat there. If this thing gets out, you're in deep trouble. But I mean, that's how it should be with a 6-drop. Opponent doesn't want to play. Okay, all right. I really wish they would put their brackets like this guy. See, playing control, tier 3. Yeah, of course, no problem. I'm not gonna join your game, not because of the control thing, but because of the bracket 3 thing. Like, at least tell me if you don't wanna. Oh man, it's so close. As I said, with a higher mulligan rate, in order to have more explosive starts and higher power overall, I think Jace is going to be more valuable than the One Ring here. Thieving Skydiver is too valuable to keep, and Ponder to find my 4th land, so we're going to go this route. I'll go ahead and lead off with an Underground. I want to try to get 3 blue sources into play, 3 islands specifically into play as quickly as I can, because I'd like to be prepared in case I draw a Mystic Sanctuary. I'd like for it to be alive. And I also want to fuel my Vedalken Shackles. So those are some of the things we want to be thinking about. Opponent's not playing, no red, so I don't have to worry about like Blood Moon here and go get basic land to possibly hedge. Oh, yeah, that's insane. We don't need this for now, or this, or this. Well, when I say we don't need, I mean we're going to take all 3, but we're just going to stack it in the right order. So we can go turn to Tavish. I think that's not beatable by mono green without an insane start. So the question is, do I want to turn to the Tavish, and then do I want to get rid of the sword? Or do I want to wait a turn? And again, do I want to get rid of the sword? I do want to get rid of the sword. I don't have enough lands to make strong use of it right now. Even though it's really good against mono green, of course. But it's just a little bit early for that. And so I think what we're going to do is just slam the mana vault down. There's no guarantee this stays in play against green. But it's much, much harder for them to deal with the Tavish. So I'm gonna invest and go all in on these guys here. Essentially double Dark Ritual. But this just puts me so far ahead. If it's unanswered, it's probably GG. Now the other option, like I said, would have been just play tap 2 and play the Grim there, pass, and then on the next turn I play a land and I have, it's fine. I have, I would have had 3, 4, 5, 6 mana up on the next turn, but I also would have had a mana vault. So 5 of that would have cast Tevish and 1 of it would have cast a mana vault, essentially resetting my ramp. But I think waiting a turn there does not make a ton of sense. Let's try this guy, Ninja's Wife. Another player who's not looking to have the TNT experience, apparently. So yeah, a little bit of a challenge as usual to find games. If they would only fix the replay, then I wouldn't have videos with this incredible amount of delay in between games, and we'd be able to actually just replay all the games and see all the wins and losses and focus on that as I have in the past. So I really hope and implore, if anyone's watching that happens to be part of the company or somehow involved in the company, that you do whatever you can to get the replays working, because that's one of the big advertisements for the client, is being able to play. I think that's a really good selling point for most clients, is that you can actually use them to play and replay. Alright, so Brian will not be joining us this evening. That is okay, so I can close Discord out. Is it open? Let's see. Nope, I just have OBS up. Okay, that's fine. I've noticed with Windows 11 it's something really strange. I'll open up like see how there's a line under these two icons, but there's no line under these. Well, if I open one of these programs, it adds the line to let you know that it's been opened. But when I close the program, for whatever reason, the line just doesn't go away. See, it just stays there forever. So, like, I'll log in and it's pristine, no lines. And as soon as I open the program once, it stays there. Not sure what to do about that or how to fix that. Kind of a bummer. All right, Bardonian, our next opponent. We do have an opponent, hopefully. Maybe. Oh yeah, this is a serious opponent playing Urza. This is great. I'm excited. We have a really sweet hand with lots of potential. Going first, I would say our win rate would spike way up because first turn birds going first is just so much stronger, giving us a turn 2 Tavish before my opponent can get double blue online. Also, if my opponent has turn 1 Soul Ring, turn 2 Urza, I can't interact with it with this hand right now. So no Soul Ring, please. Okay, Mr. Cremora, perfect. When I have a Bird of Paradise, it's so good. Beautiful. And then we can go right into Tamio. Man, that's good. And my opponent's going to, if he spends a bunch of time dorking around with Mystic Remora, doing nothing, provided, again, the main threat right now is, of course, Soul Ring. But provided Soul Ring doesn't come down, I think win rate just shot way up. Okay. So presumably Mana Drain or Force of Will would be the choice. Maybe Time Twister. Yeah, Mana Drain. There we go. But you can't Mana Drain off a Remora. And I'm going to make it... okay. So if I were to play... I can play Tamio, right? Or I could play my commander. I think Tamio's got to be the play. Yeah, we just go Tamio. Overgrown Tomb. No need to pay life. Go ahead. You have Mana Drain. Silly. Yeah. Are you really going to pay for the Remora? Are you serious? You're not paying for the Remora. What are you doing? Okay. Now the nice thing about this is it's going to make a clue, and then we're going to use the clue to power up the Opal. So I think my opponent is like ridiculous here. Let's see. I mean, that was. I'm gonna try to. I'm gonna try to assume. There's no way my opponent would counter a Mox Opal and a Mana Vault here. Spellscape? Bro, you are nuts. You have Mana Drain in your hand? I could draw an extra card here pretty safely because even though it's going to take the Mox Opal offline, Yeah, I mean, I have to attack with Tameo, but I should be getting my blue mana back pretty easily. Yeah, and also we can just hit a land. Okay. Yeah, this is just utterly hopeless for my opponent. Alright, let's go get some blue. Should I even just tap? Should I just tap my Manifold? Probably should. Yeah. Alright. We'll do this. Black, blue this way. So that I can have counter magic up. Safest possible way. Something tells me I might have this game in the bag. I think that's the biggest problem with Urza. You really need Soul Ring for it to be good, and or Mana Crypt, and of course Mana Crypt is no longer around, so it's really Soul Ring or bust for Urza to do anything at all. Alrighty, we will 1, 2, 3. So it's a little strange. I think I can swing in. I'm gonna play the land actually. So I'm gonna swing in. I really want. I'd like to connect with the frog, but more importantly, I want to flip the Tameo this turn so I can pick counterspell back up. Opponent doesn't draw with either one. Wow, it doesn't block at all. I think I would block the frog and force me to spend cards there, but perhaps not. Let's just go ahead and win this game then. And then triple blue. We'll transmute this guy. Go get a winter orb. Player preordain. Oops. I don't need more cards, but getting a strip mine. I already played an underground, so yeah, I'll actually dump them both. Oh, one has mana drain in their hand and then some unknowns. So what I can do is tuck. We'll put the tutor here, we'll put this on top. Not shuffle. Cast that. And that. And that. Okay. Opponent's had enough, I guess. Seems like a good turn 4. Nice mana drain. Crap, man. Sorry. I should, okay, hey, competitive decks only, let's go. I should, my opponent said they're new to the deck. I get it. I get it. I mean, you gotta learn somehow. It just, here's the thing. If you go get mana drain, what you do is you don't spend your mana. You just go get mana drain, then you sit there and you wait for your opponent to speed you mana. Just get mana drain, sit on 2 blue. Stay on 2 blue. Don't mess around. Get mana drain and tap out every single turn for the entire game. Not really the strategy. Alright, this is a vamp hand. It's a little risky, but that actually is stronger. Okay, it's a lot better now. I'm going to throw this down in case of something like a Remora. Now, I can go get a Ancient Tomb and steal that drum, which will get us one closer, and use the... Oh, no, sorry, I thought this was... Never mind, I thought that was the bird. What that is force fuel, probably. Alright. Pirates, deal damage. So I could vamp for an answer here, but I think forcing this is better. Because it lets me develop next turn, which is more important. Drawing that land there was pretty nice. So we want to develop, we want to get a soul ring here. Oh. Alright, we have a little bit of time. Since I can't go get a soul ring. So my options are like Ancient Tomb. It could be Soul Ring, but then I won't be able to, I may not be able to. So Mana Drain, Soul Ring, Ancient Tomb. Because of the Opal, I really want the Soul Ring most. So I think that's going to be what I get. That mental misstep was very poor timing, unfortunately. Alright, we don't mind any of that stuff. Love to see a land here. No land. Well, we'll go for it. So I would like to play Remand. Sorry, I'd like to play Soul Ring and then Remand their next play. But my concern is my opponent has a counter. And I basically lose the game if that happens. On the other hand, if I do nothing, and my opponent has a Wasteland, this is really bad. But if they don't have anything, right, I can Remand their 4-drop, which I'm expecting to see. They're going to get a tapped blue-red here, probably, and then sack their Spellbomb to draw a card, maybe, or just a plain blue-red, yeah. Yeah. So, by doing this, I did give them the time to sack there, but more than likely they play land, and then they fetch, and then they play Breaches. And then we're going to, we don't want that in play. So we're gonna Remand and hope to find some additional mana. Hopefully the Remand resolves, of course. So here's where a Mana Drain would have been better than the Soul Ring. But okay, we found our mana. Pretty good one at that. So I'll play Saga. Saga to get a ring. Ring to get Trank. It. Mage. And then we can go get, so we could get a Mox here. But what I could do is just get the drum, and then the drum will turn that on and go that route. Or I can get a Mox, and I can slam the Narset. So we want a Mox. So we're going to get Mox Diamond. Land was a really nice pickup. Get Narset down. Start digging. Okay, well that doesn't solve any problem that we're about to face, but it does make next turn more explosive, so that's something. Okay, so Menace has to be blocked by 2. We do have 2 blockers next turn. Of course, the fact that this gives them some mana sucks, especially if they bolt Narset. That's what we really didn't want to see. 1 more card off of Narset would have been great. Okay, so 2 for the monolith. 3, 4, 5 for Tevish Zot. We're gonna plus, and then we're gonna pass. Because I'd really like a Saga token. I want to make sure that thing just never connects. If I can. Yeah. And then it would be the flyer that's the scary one. Is it'll give them treasures, but at least not free cards. And another play. Opponent's got a very efficient deck. Okay, so what goes to the dustbin here? This is a Ragavan, but it plays it for free. It's gross. It's pretty gnarly threat there. Alright, Manifold Key, interesting. So there, I suppose that's for cards like Grim Monolith and the One Ring. Let's get that ground game covered. We're going to go get Skull Clamp here. So the question is, do I want another robot? It certainly leaves me fairly heavily defended. And I have so much mana, I think I will actually. Okay, so let's start drawing some cards. That gives me a warm fuzzy. A happy feeling. Okay, let's draw some more cards. Yeah. All done. We're going to draw 2 cards here. And then probably draw 2 more cards, more than likely. But that Shackles will take care of that in a second. So they'd hit me and they'd... they'd hit me here and they'd get to exile the top card of my library. But I could set that up with the Ponder. So it wouldn't even be too bad. And then they've only got 2 cards in hand. I can fierce anything like real serious, more than likely. And then on the turn after that, of course, we get to steal their Malcolm. Yeah. So good stuff. Very good stuff. I'll create this. I don't want to keep. I would like to keep joining their game, but they may not enjoy it. And I don't want to be like, I join, and they're like, dude, stop it, and then they, block me, even though they're asking for competitive. So I'll stand my game up. Maybe I'll send them a message. Leijur. Let's try that. So I get people on my buddy list that I don't know. I just said I wasn't sure if you want to make it a series, but of games, but I have one up in case you'd like to. So you got to add people as friend to message them, but then when they reply, they can reply without being buddy. So then you can just right click and remove them from the buddy list, like I've done with these folks here in the past. So yeah, I've got, oops, like I don't even know who all these folks are. I do know these three though, so there's my three. I know who some of them are by having played and them being on the channel and stuff, but I don't know them like in real life, at IRL as it were, other than these three people here. So, man, so when I first started playing, the first time I ever played an MMO, and actually the last, well, not the last technically, but the last time I seriously engaged was Final Fantasy 11. And so when I see all this Final Fantasy stuff, there's a part of my brain that's so used to seeing Final Fantasy related icons and stuff when I would log into a game that I didn't even think twice about it. It took me like a split second to realize I'm in the Magic Online client and not like in Vanadial or whatever. So Final Fantasy 11 is actually how I met my wife. We formed a guild, and that game is called a Link Shell, and with one other buddy, and the three of us had a roster of, at one point, 300 people with about 200 active and 100 inactive at any given time. And yeah, we'd run events and stuff, and even although we formed it with the three of us, we ended up expanding out like the leadership and the people that we relied on. You can't run effectively, I would say it's unlikely that you could run an organization that big without growing your leadership. And but we had a great time and made some lifelong friends, and of course we met each other. We'd known each other in the game from before that, but we actually seriously got to know each other and realized that we appreciated each other quite a bit. And I guess from respect bloomed love eventually, I guess you could say. And in fact, if I go online, there is, for anyone who's interested, there is a screenshot of my character. So my character was called a Mithra, and a Mithra was the character that had to be female. It was a cat girl character, basically. But I selected it because in that game, selecting your race affected your stats. And I didn't know what stats were the best. I started playing like almost right after the game came out, and this was way back in the day, and still like online guides and stuff were not fleshed out. So the only thing I had to go off of was stats. And so when I looked at the stats, what I did was I added up the total number of stats that each race had, and Mithra had one higher total than any other group. And so from that, I selected Mithra, because I was into like kind of min-maxing. So let's see if I can find my character. Or more interestingly, let's see if I can find. Let's see if I can find a screenshot that. So here, somebody created a website where you could actually search for any item, see the details about it, go to like the wiki, throw comments on it, and you could add screenshots, and you could, if this item is not sellable, but if the item was sellable, you could, like for example, if I go back to the main screen, you could see the sales history of it and prices, and you pick your server, whatever. So I'll show you why this one's funny in a second, but we got a game. Let's check that out first. Great opening hand, 100% a keep. Very close to super busted, one artifact away. It's another reason why we want to run like Springleaf Drum. I mean, hands like this get much better when you have the drum. Because I'm not going to make a play on turn one, I'm going to lead with the Sanctuary. I would normally like to hold it, but in this case, I don't know how the next couple of turns will sequence out, and I would rather get the tapped impact on my mana development out of the way now, Alright, so we're gonna deal with these in a second. So we're not gonna play our I'm not gonna play the commander here. Also, that's an island, so I can play this and I can hide the fact that I've got the tropical. So I'm going to sneak out the Sylvan here. Not doing the Mox Amber stuff. Going to try to grab some extra cards. The plan here, unfortunately, my opponent might get a free land if the next card is also a land after they draw. No, it's not. Okay, so they didn't get a free land, or did they? I couldn't tell if that came from hand or library. Because if they would have drawn a card, the card on top disappears, and then was the next card a land? I don't know. Anyway, well, they're going to get some life here. Oh, he's going to shuffle. What is going on here? Nick those. Yep. Strong. Card when you have... Alright, so this is coming up. But for now, I'm sure it's going to be Thrawn, or I imagine it's going to be Thrawn. Alright, they've got to let these resolve before they can cast their Thrawn. There we go. Clear the stack out. Okay. So we definitely need to sweep the board here. Fortunately, this is a great hand for doing that. And because I have the Moxes, I can pay the life here pretty safely. So the only question would be whether or not I want to tutor anything. And since I'm really hoping to find an artifact, the answer is going to be no, or a free spell like that. Okay, so we're just going to keep all that. And then got to get black off of this guy. Grab the Bayou. Do this. 1, 2, 3, 4. That'll clear out all that stuff. And that'll make this unplayable next turn more than likely. And there's no reason to expose. I have 7 cards, so there's no reason to expose my Moxes. I thought I was going to draw over, like I was going to overdraw rather. That doesn't look like it. So. That could have been a little bit early, but because I have the Mystical Tutor and I can get Yogg Will, and we can ramp out next turn really strong off the Sylvan, I think it's fine. Should be fine. So, I know they've got Nissa as a 5-drop, and after that, that's fine. I'm not going to force that. Alright, so here we're going to draw, and then I'll Mystical Tutor if I don't see what I'm looking for. So we're going to draw for the turn. I don't see what I'm looking for, which is interaction. So we're going to Mystical before the Sylvan goes off. Specific interaction in this case is the card that is going to break their back, which is the Mana Drain. I'm going to take both, I think. Yep. I've got the life. Let's do it. And then I can play Trop. And I can play Bird. Could play the Mox Amber off of my commander, but again, Mana Drain is the card that we want to use to break that back here, so we're going to wait. I'd like to have black up here in case something goes wrong, like so I could kill that Swiftfoot Boots, but if they're just going to jam a ton of mana into a Mana Drain, then this is a hopeless game for them. And that is indeed what they're going to do. Yeah, it's unwinnable. 2 cards in hand over there. Opponent says yawn. What did, I don't know. I can't understand players like this whatsoever. All right, well. So this person is your typical, like, look, they have a card that a 4/4 that can't be countered and is hexproof and regenerates. So they're clearly here to beat blue decks. But no, it doesn't beat blue decks at all. No idea what the plan is. All right, we'll float another game while we wait for this Yetz to accelerate. Yam Joseki. Anyway, so what I was going to show you with the Shadow Mantle is, so this was a card that has a very secret, occasionally annuls damage from physical attacks, and then on dark stays does something else. So this text doesn't matter. All this is who can use it. None of this matters. There's a back piece. This occasionally annuls damage from physical attacks is like a 5%, I think it is. I don't remember what the percentage is, but so anyway, here's the funny screen shot. I am able to zoom that in? I don't know if I can zoom that in. Yes, so there's my wife. My wife's character. She was playing as a bard, I think, here, a support character, and then here's my character, the Mithra. And you can't see the Shadow Mantle, unfortunately. It was the only thing, one of the few things. Mantles and rings never showed up on your character, but your headgear and body armor and all that would. And the two of us are duoing something that was obviously designed to be fought by like a full group of players. This Cathtrot Rapido is like a notorious monster in the game. It's like a super, rare spawn type thing. And the reason it's crazy is, I don't know if you probably can't make it up, but my hit points there are about 1,000. Now I'm at max level at the time, which was 75. A little bit, I think 1,200 was my hit points. Now I'm not a tank, I'm a mage, but 1,200, even a tank would be like in the 2,500s, maybe a little less. This character, as you hit him, it would power up and then ultimately release a special move called 10,000 Needles. And 10,000 Needles was everyone in AoE range would take the number of people and then take that number and divide it into 10,000, and whatever the number was left, that's how much damage you took. So when this thing did 10,000 needles to her and me, it did 5,000 damage to the two of us, 5,000 each. I believe is how it worked, or maybe it just did 10k to everybody. I can't remember. I think it divided it up. So you would supposed to soak it with a bunch of people and make it weak by having a bunch of people grouped around and kind of helping you all. So you take like a couple hundred instead of 5,000. But here, of course, it wiped my wife. But here, I had Shadow Mantle on. This is like my idling gear, and so it procced. So you can see it, 10,000 needles, and then it says I take 0 points of damage, and then there's some other stuff going on here, and so it was pretty funny. It was my 5% chance to survive, and it kicked in there. Made for an awesome screenshot, and then I just stuck it on the Shadow Mantle item, like, hey, this is why you want this thing. And then you see, this is my wife being funny, and this is all the way back at 2011. How incredible! So this was before my son was born. Just absolutely amazing. So we met, and we used to do crazy stuff like that and had a lot of fun. And then we stopped playing basically when my son was born, because as parents you want to be able to focus on your kids, and it was both of ours first and in this case only child. But the luxury to play an MMO sort of drifts away. But yeah, it's kind of a fun little screenshot I thought I would share just for the heck of it, no other reason. Let's see if this opponent is very similarly going to be the quit guy. I don't really know. if he's gonna do the same thing or not. But we'll find out. If he's just here not to play and just try to grief me, then I go ahead and block him, and then they can't join my game anymore. Yeah, it looks like they're just here to grief me. I mean, that's fine. I'll just, instead of blocking them, the other option I can do is just stand up a new game, stand up another game, stand up another game. Yeah, there we go. I'm waiting for a game and I'm playing a game, so no problem at all. I used to report guys like this to the admins. So what you can do is you can take the match and the game number, and then you can block and report. That's fine. Okay. Good luck, have fun. Thank you, you too. Okay. Azusa. Boom. Am I going first? I'm not. I'm going to keep, but Azusa can be super busted. It really just depends, basically, like fast spawn. It depends on how much land they have, and of course if they draw a soul ring and such. Now we do have defenses against that. They mulligan to 5, which is also going to be super helpful. And I've got the possibility of playing like turn 2 counterspell, but I also have the possibility of going like setting up for a Grim Monolith into Commander. So like I can get this ticking and 1, 2, 3, yeah. So the question is whether or not I want, am I in a rush? I'd like to hard counter whatever they're going to be doing, but here's the thing. I'm going to do this anyway, because if I have to force a negation here, then not playing the Saga really hurts me. So if I have to force a negation, and what would I force a negation? Well, an example would be Sylvan Library. You know what? This opponent, I just have no, yeah, of course. That was a nice draw. Okay, let's do this, and then hopefully, is this opponent, yeah, they're not even, I'll get around to reporting that player in a second. I mean, they're going to time out and lose, so. Alright, so now they get their commander down, but if they don't have a bunch of Wastelands and Strip Mines or whatever, and even if they do, I mean, it hurts, but they do that, it sucks, it takes a couple turns for me to rebuild, and then that's that. Whenever land ensures, create a food or a treasure. Yep. Okay. Alright, so now we can go do the usual, go grab Mr. Soul Ring. Nice thing also about the drum is that in situations like this, if you really had to, you could go get the black mana for your Spring Leaf. Getting that impulse into hand is really nice right here. So because I have Counterspell, I'm going to go ahead and run some mana through this Grim. And so yeah, now I have counterspell plus force. That's just super strong. I generally don't care about their commander. What I care about is life from the loam. And force of negation would actually take care of that, which is a big deal. But yeah, I mean their commander is, it's a 1/2 with no abilities. It's a Zeus so lost but sucking. Unless, like here they're gonna get a bunch of food or treasures, but none of those draw cards, so they're gonna get effectively some ramp going, right? And then that ramp, here, I'll yield to that, is not going to matter if they can't refill their hand, and I'm not going to let them refill their hand, or at least that's the game plan. Okay, I will impulse, even though it is my blue card for force and negation, because I'm anticipating finding either another blue card or, well, that's basically the reason. Between the impulse and the other. So against them, Rollick is really good, Winter Orb is really good. Probably just get the Orb because I think they're just dead here. Their deck is obviously designed to play tons of lands and take advantage of that, and yeah, not going to be doing that with a Winter Orb in play, not too easily anyhow. So we will just play this and slam this and call it good. Now I don't like the fact that they're going to get extra treasures, but that's only, I didn't, by the way, find a blue card. Anyway, I don't like the fact they'll get extra treasures, but that's only, that's only going to be until they run out of lands, or if I use the opposition agent to trade with the Tireless Provisioner. But I'd like to keep the opposition agent because more than likely a deck like that's going to run like Cultivate and Rampant Growth and possibly something like Natural Order. So I'd like to be able to opposition agent anything like that. And of course we've already seen 2 fetch lands. Oh, excuse me. Ooh, nice. I haven't seen one of those in ages. So nice thing here is we're going to snipe Azusa with the opposition agent, assuming they swing. Yeah, which they kind of have to. I mean, this is all scripted. And off it goes. Opposition agent. Sometimes it's counterspell, sometimes it's removal, and sometimes it's none of the above, but often it's one or the other. That was great. We'll get this Mox down. And do we have 3 islands yet? No, we don't. We'll go ahead and get that untapped. So I was asking if I had 3 islands because I would like to one, two, three, four, yeah. Let's do this. And now I've got a 2/2 who blocks and draws cards. And I will make that trade if they give me the opportunity to make the trade. I was asking if I had 3 islands, because now I can fetch and I can go get Mystic Sanctuary and I can recur Counterspell here, more than likely. I'd love to tap 4 mana and just activate Thrasios if nothing particularly scary happens. That's probably okay. First of all, your fetch lands are really bad right now, and second of all, I can take it. And that allows me to do exactly what I wanted, which was activate Thrasios. Yeah, they're going to get a treasure here again, but I'm good with it. Yeah, I don't care much about it. I did see the Zuran Orb. That's pretty cool. So I can activate Thrasios or untap the Grim, but we're gonna. Well, untapping the Grim might be better just because I'm gonna make 2 guys and then clamp and draw 5 cards next turn. But on the flip side, if I can hit a land with Thrasios, that's ramp. If I don't hit a land, that means I probably would scry most cards down to the bottom, so it'd have to be really good for me to not. Sure, I mean, I'll take the straight. That's fine with me, as I said. So I can kill this and draw 2 cards and book. I mean, that's just... so much value. Oh, perfect. We'll put it on top. Sneak that into play. Grab even more cards. Yum, yum, yum. And grab even more cards. We've got three cards in hand. I could just Yawgmoth's Will and put that Winter Orb back into play. I can also deal with the Crucible now if I want to. I can play their Forest, I suppose. Most don't even want to. Alright, let's do that. Let's do this. Let's do what's Imperial Seal? Alright, let's clamp. I have to be careful not to clamp after I will, because I won't be able to draw any cards. And then, I mean, I've got so much mana. I can impulse, and I can impulse for target card. So let's go get a Sword of Fire and Ice, and I could impulse it into my hand, but actually I can clamp it into my hand. Yeah, there we go. This way. Oh, it does. That shouldn't have drawn me cards, I don't think. I guess it does touch the graveyard, so it's whenever it goes to the graveyard, you exile it. Well, anyway, we've got a Will running, so let's get some more mana. Fix the old Winter Orb problem. And then we'll impulse and steal their Crucible. Right? I'm not going to bother with the impulse. I almost... almost don't want to. The only way they can beat me is they get a creature, so we'll just take that. It is a little bit kind of trash, but okay. Well, that was fine. Sure, throw away a dual land. I hate throwing away dual lands. All right, well, let's just do it. I'm keeping this because, like I said, Mystic Sanctuary lets me recur. I'll keep this because it's just better than a dual land most of the time. And yeah, you're super dead. I really liked seeing the Crows and Crypto. That was awesome. People don't play that. And in mono green, it makes way more sense. If you can, I'm excited about Crows and Crypto. It's basically disenchant that's uncounterable, right? Can't even be responded to though, so it's really good in that sense. But also, It's one of those cards that it does a few other interesting things because it has um, sudden, what is it? Instant. I can't even remember what the heck it's called. It is called. Let's see. Split second. There we go. Because it has split second, it does some weird things like you can't. Like, say somebody has an Arcbound Ravager, and they can. It's a creature that lets them sacrifice artifacts to put counters on it, and then when it dies, you get to move those counters to another artifact creature. And so they've got a bunch of junk artifacts in play. You Crows and Grip the Ravager. Not only can it not be countered, but they don't have time to like sacrifice all their junk and stack it up before it dies, and then you move the counters to something else. And even if they were like, well, I'm worried he's going to have a Crows and Grip, so I'm going to sacrifice. I'm going to make that play. If they sacrifice and they don't hold the control button and sack them all like as while holding priority, if they let go of priority, they sacrifice once, and then they go to sacrifice again, but they pass priority in between, you can Crows and Grip and just stop it. So stuff like that. There's these like interesting corner cases where the card's pretty cool. That said, it is a card from another era that may. It's possible that when you actually put a mono green deck together and you look at all your options, because there's so many good cards that have been printed over 30 plus years, maybe Crows and Grip is just not good enough. You know, like you would be looking for disenchants with other abilities or more impact, you know, that kind of thing. Cheaper, like you certainly would never play it over a Nature's Claim, for example, the 1 green mana that disenchants and gives them 4 life, just because killing a Soul Ring on turn 3 versus turn 1 is a huge difference, regardless of counterable or not. So, oh, if it looked at all like, anyway, this is my my wife bought me these fun glasses cleaners with a bunch of different patterns on them. My favorite for the office is the burrito, so, or the tortilla. So, all right, hey, I've got somebody that looks like they're looking for a game, but I don't know. Yeah. Okay, so I'll leave my event, jump into theirs. Might have to call it if we're just not getting enough hits on opponents here. Oh, it's this person. Sorry, I feel bad. And I have an insane start, so I'm gonna feel even worse here in a second. So interestingly enough, yeah, I got it. This would have been a nuts start. So we would Chrome Mox the Snapcaster, tap 2 for Talisman, tap the Talisman for Halfling. Imagine if this was the one that produces colorless mana. Like, you can see how much better it is here. So it'd be 1, 2, 3, 4 mana on turn 1. Then we draw a card, and then turn 2 commander. Yeah, we win. Silly. Okay, well, I think that's it. It's getting pretty hard for me to find games tonight, and you start running out of things to talk about. But hopefully you got a little bit of fun with the games that we did get to play. We didn't get to see everything in action. Unfortunately, I didn't get to show you the Oko. Of course, if you've played any format where that card has existed, you know how busted it is once it gets running. But you know, it's hard to compare how good it is in like a commander format. But still, I think it's probably pretty top notch. And it's also very punishing for other blue decks because, you know, they have to counter it, and then they have to counter it again, and then potentially again, and so it creates like a problem that can be difficult to solve. Although, you know, it depends on the deck, right? Because we could deadly rollick it or tear it asunder and remove it from the game if we happen to face it. But, you know, or it could be stolen. I mean, there's answers, but it can be a challenge, and especially when you're facing another blue deck. So we didn't get to see that, but overall, I think we did get to see the Springleaf Drum, and you could see the situation where it would have been really nice. We got to see the Phyrexian Tower. We got to see the Talisman shine in that hand right there. And so I think overall the changes are feeling really good, and I'm pretty pleased with them. What do you think, though? Please feel free to leave your comments and any other suggestions you have for the deck. And other than that, that's all I've got. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.